Item number 2 is to amend administrative monetary penalties. Could I get the recommended motion, please?
That bylaw 61-2025 to amend administrative monetary penalty system bylaw designating of blasting bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Kavanaugh, seconded by Councillor Hinton. Any discussion on this bylaw? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Item number 3 is to amend the tax rate replacement of county rates. Recommended motion, please.
That bylaw 62-2025 to amend tax rate bylaw 23-2025 replacement of county rates be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Comley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Tennant. Any discussion? I will just remind everybody that this was due to a Lanark County municipality that had not initiated their rates to the county because we are very prompt and do our taxes very early in the year. We had already submitted our rates in and set our rates, and because our fellow municipality had not done so until I believe almost June or July, our rates were wrong, and so we had to amend them. Just to remind everybody who may be watching. Did I get a mover on that? Sorry, Stace? I think I did. Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, yes, because I did ask if there's any other comments. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Item number 4 is to appoint municipal auditors. Could I get the recommended motion, please?
That bylaw 63-2025 to appoint municipal auditors for the fiscal years 2025 to 2029 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Moved by Councillor Kavanaugh, seconded by Councillor Sakaspina. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor and opposed, and that's carried. Item number 5 is the to amend the lease agreement with Lanark County for the OBRT lands between Lake Avenue and Moore Street. Recommended motion, please.
That bylaw 64-2025 to authorize an amendment to the lease agreement with the County of Lanark for the Ottawa Valley Recreation Trail lands between Lake Avenue and Moore Street be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Hinton, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And lastly, bylaw to amend delegation of authority. Recommended motion, please.
That bylaw 65-2025 to amend delegation of authority bylaw 94-2020 municipally significant events be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Moved by Councillor Kavanaugh, seconded by Councillor Comley. Any discussion? And just a reminder, this is due to the Ukrainian fest that we're having so that they can have alcohol at the festival, if I recall.
Well, on the consent agenda, there was a motion to identify that as a municipally significant event. This bylaw is to authorize staff going forward to be able to issue those approvals without coming to council.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Moves us on from bylaws to announcements. I have none of significance, although we always put it out to council for items that are happening around the community. Councillor Kavanaugh, you go ahead. We'll start with you and move on to Councillor Sakaspina.
Thank you. Well, first off, I don't necessarily want to speak for everyone, but I'm sure I can in this regard, but it's back to school season, and we just want to wish good luck to our younger residents as they embark on a new school year. May their year be filled with many happy days, new friends, and ignite new interests and curiosities. To those of us beyond school age, I encourage everyone to be mindful of school buses, little people walking and biking, as they return to school. The French Catholic School Board is back this week, and Upper Canada and the Catholic District School Board is next week. So good luck to everyone. Good luck, parents, kids alike. Also, tonight, right now, there's a party at the park at Anthony Curro Park. So anyone watching on their phones, hi. Then Thursday, we have Jammin' at the Junction at Carlton Junction at 6:30 p.m. And on September 6th, a jam-packed day with the Dragon Boat Festival returning to Riverside Park and Rock the Pantry at the Carlton Place Legion from 1 to 5 in support of the Lanark County Food Bank. So thanks.
Good evening, everybody. We have a blood donor clinic, Carlton Place Arena, Thursday, September 11th, 2:30 to 7:30. The Lanark County Harvest Festival, of which Carlton Place is sponsoring. Is that the correct word?
We are the host community.
We are the hosting party. And it's going to be at beautiful Beckwith Park, Sunday, September 14th, 11 to 4, and it's free. And Friday, September 11th, from 8 to 12 a.m., there's karaoke at the 192 Legion. Since we have a lot of the Legion tonight, I will ask you, is it free or do you have to pay? Is it free? Nobody answers? Somebody say, okay, Father Andrew said, I hope not, it's free. And that's it. Thank you.
Is there any further announcements? Usually Councillor Sekespina and Councillor Kavanaugh are very thorough. I will also just say that this past Friday, I was able to host the Warden's Golf Tournament. The team from Carlton Place did not win or come close to winning, I don't think, to be honest with you. But good try. Well, I would.
There was two teams, so he's.
I can, that's right. I don't know who neither of you won. Let's just say that. Just, okay, well, there you go. All I know is that I wasn't allowed to play because I had to host. But we don't have numbers yet. Well, I'll hear the numbers tomorrow, but a bunch of money raised for Lanark County food banks. The Lanark Highlands Food Bank, the Smiths Falls Food Bank, the Table in Perth, and the Hunger Stop here in Carlton Place all would get equal parts of whatever was raised. A good day and fun times had by all, and I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out, supporting our local food banks. And with that, we move on to the confirmatory bylaw. Could I get the recommended motion, please?
That bylaw 66-2025, confirmation of council proceedings for August 26th, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you. Could I get a mover, please? Deputy Mayor Tennant, seconded by Councillor Hinton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And so that moves us straight along to adjournment, and that the recommended motion is that this meeting be adjourned at 6:15 p.m. Moved by Councillor Conley, second by Councillor Kavanaugh. All in favor? And we are adjourned. We will move into our committee of the whole, which is being run by Councillor Hinton. Good luck.
Hi, Amanda, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear
Can
me
we hear
okay?
you?
If anyone can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Can anybody hear me?
Those of us online can hear you, Amanda, but I don't know if they can in council chambers.
Okay. That is helpful. I'm just gonna go let them know that inside. Thank you for letting me know.
No problem.
Can you speak again?
I think Amanda was going to let you know that those of us online could hear her, but we couldn't hear you, and I don't think you could hear her. Are you able to hear me?
Normally, we're way more organized than this, just to let you know.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Can you talk again, please?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes. Try one more time, please.
Testing, testing.
That's what we tried it.
Can you try this?
Can you hear me now?
We're good. Sorry for that delay. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, August 26th. Call the meeting to order at 6:19 p.m. All members of council are present with the exception of Councillor Atkinson. Approval of agenda. The suggested motion is that the agenda be accepted as presented. We have a mover and seconder. Moved by Mayor Randall, seconded by Councillor Comley. Any discussions? See none. All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion is carried. Declaration of pecuniary conflict of interest and general nature thereof. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflicts of interest on the agenda this evening? If so, you can present them now or anytime during the meeting. We move on to minutes to be approved and received. The suggested motion is that the Committee of the Whole minutes dated August 12th, 2025 be accepted as presented. Moved by Councillor Kavanaugh, second by Councillor Sekaspina. Any discussions? See none. All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion is carried. We are on to delegations and presentations. We have 3 on the agenda for this evening. First will be hearing from Nancy Neal from Watson Associate Economics Limited, a presentation of the water and wastewater rates study.
Good evening. Are you able to hear me? Excellent. And I am going to also share my screen. If someone can give me a thumbs up that you can see that, that would be great. Are you able to see that? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Good evening, Councillor Hinton, Mayor Randall, and other members of council, staff, and the public that are listening in. I am going to walk you through as quickly as possible a presentation that actually outlines the findings of the most recent water and wastewater rate study that we've undertaken alongside staff that really set out rates going forward for 2026 and into the future years. What we have included in is everything related to both water and wastewater capital needs over a 10-year forecast period, identified different cost recovery options for the capital, as well as estimating future operating costs over that 10-year forecast period. including transfers to reserves for putting aside funds to help with mitigating debt in the future that would be needed when it comes time to fund additional asset management or replacement of current assets. And then again, recommending new rates for both the water and wastewater. Wastewater rates are currently set at 100% of water rates. That is going to continue moving forward. There is a number of different legislation that is in place and have been in place over the last 2.5 decades surrounding the water and wastewater industry. They include the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Sustainable Water and Sewage Systems Act, a regulation under the Safe Drinking Water Act that required us to give you a water financial plan a few weeks back that helps you get your water license renewed once every 5 years. The Clean Water Act and the Water Opportunities Act, those really have all formed the basis of what we include in a rate study for full cost recovery through the rates themselves. And then there are also a couple of other requirements that were set out in the Municipal Infrastructure Strategy that was put out years ago, and the Infrastructure for Jobs and Prosperity Act, which requires you to deal with asset management of both future and existing assets. So as noted, right now you actually have a different system or rate structure for customers depending on whether they are metered or unmetered. The majority of your customers, especially the residential customers, are unmetered. And so right now, the rates set for residential really vary based on the number of people in each dwelling unit. And then we also look at whether or not the dwelling units are on full services, if they have full services except for excluding an outside tap, or whether they have a private swimming pool. And then you can see as well, there's a summer service flat rate that's for water only. There's only one customer currently on that. But that rate is in place for customers that only receive the service in the summer months. For non-residential customers, so commercial, industrial, and institutional customers, there are a number of them as well that are unmetered. And really what the rates are based on is full services. And what is assessed is most businesses, there's an average of a number of employees, 5 employees, and that are working or in operation for approximately 60 hours a week. Over and above that, if there are additional employees or additional hours of operations that businesses are open, there's additional rates that apply to them. The current rate structure for metered customers, for those that have a water meter, there's a quarterly meter rental charge that varies based on the size of the meter, as well as additional fees for properties that have more than one unit. And that's a tiered system really that has a certain rate for the second unit, the third unit, and any fourth or more units. And then on top of that, there's also a volume charge. And that volume charge is based on the water that's actually consumed and is also tiered based on the amount of imperial gallons that are used in any quarter. And so as you use more and go up into additional thresholds, you actually pay a lower rate. So it's considered a declining or decreasing block rate structure that you have in place. So there are 3 different components of the charge that a metered customer has imposed on them. And with that, there is a minimum bill as well on the quarter. So even if you have low consumption under a certain amount in the quarter, you're still charged a minimum, which works out to just over 13,000 cubic meters in the quarter. Or sorry, 13,000 imperial gallons in the quarter. Your existing customer profile varies depending on the service and the type of customer or unit they have and the number of people or employees that are in there. For the unmetered customers, there are just over 5,450 customers currently on water and slightly less than that on wastewater. So there are a few customers that don't have wastewater services connected right now. And for those metered customers, you have 220 customers, all of which have both water and wastewater services. We do assume in the rates that you are going to continue to grow and have new customers added as new homes are built, new businesses are built. And so we do make some assumptions going forward as to how much additional revenue you're going to get from future customers. What we have done is looked at your development charge background study and used the growth forecast that was contained within it that identified additional new residential units. There is an assumption that for any of the low or medium density, so single family homes, townhouses, semi-detached homes, there's going to be just over 1,200 additional customers added in the next 10 years. And of those, we assume that 25% of them will fall into that first category of flat rates for unmetered customers where there's 1 or 2 people in the dwellings, and that 75% will then fall into the category that has 3 to 5 people in the dwellings. For high density or apartment type buildings, based on past data from historical buildings that are in place, we're assuming approximately 9 buildings with an average of 48 units per building going forward for a total of an additional 432 units in those types of dwellings. And right now, similar to the past, there's an average of about 200,000 imperial gallons that are consumed by those types of buildings on an annual basis. So we've assumed with every new building, if there's about 48 units in each, they'd have a similar consumption of water going forward. To be ultra conservative in setting the rates, we have not added any additional customers on the non-residential side. And that is because it's very difficult to look at what businesses are historically in town and determine whether or not future businesses will be similar. You could have one large, development that really doesn't use much of anything, if it's sort of like a logistic warehouse kind of thing that really doesn't use a lot of water, where you could have smaller new businesses such as a restaurant that uses quite a bit of water. So to be conservative in the rate setting, we don't want to assume too much additional volume or customers coming on, because then you might run into deficits in your budgets each year. So any new non-residential customers, as they come on, the volume that they consume, the rates that they pay if they're non-metered or metered, will actually provide a little bit of a buffer each year and will work out over time in your rates as they get updated every 5 years or so. For capital needs, we've looked at a number of different sources to get the capital forecast in place, including the 2024 development charge background study, which identified all the growth-related capital, as well as what you had in your 10-year capital budget and forecast. Looking at all of your assets and based on life cycle, what's coming due. We've also looked at and adding a little bit more capital to the back end of the forecast, as well as discussions with town staff on specifics that they know about and making some refinements to timing and capital projects. We looked at the need, the timing of it, and the costs. So that's all embraced in the forecast that we've put forward in the rate study for both services. What that looks like is over the 2025 to 35 forecast period, there is just under $72 million worth of capital works that is going forward for water and for wastewater, actually over 112, almost $112.5 million. So significant programs here. A lot of those, of course, are the water and wastewater treatment plant expansion projects that are underway and will be completed over the next few years. For each of those, we have looked at including both development charge revenues coming in, as well as growth-related debt that may be required to help finance, especially since those treatment plants are being undertaken up front, as well as transfers from your water and wastewater reserves, both the treatment plant expansion reserves and the regular water and wastewater reserves. On the wastewater side, there is a $35 million grant that is anticipated or has been approved for the plant expansion. So that's been deducted as well, so that we're only going to be recovering the net then of what we need from other sources. Those life cycle costs or asset management costs, just so you know, right now, the total value of your existing water system is worth over $160 million, and your wastewater system almost $246 million. What that translates into on a per customer basis is right now you have already invested over $28,200 in water infrastructure per customer and over $43,300 per wastewater customer. So significant investment has already taken place for both systems. They are very important systems, but costly. Just based on pure life cycle and average useful lives, we would see about $57 million between the two services actually coming due for replacement in this forecast period. What's actually been included in the forecast is less than that, about 27.6 million. And a lot of that is because what's happening with the treatment plants, there isn't as much of the facility work that will be coming due going forward in this 10-year forecast. As well, staff are very mindful of looking at actual water mains and sanitary sewers that need to be replaced based on condition, not just useful life. But what that means is there's also over $337 million that's not embraced in this capital forecast that's going to be coming up in future years. We have looked over full life cycle years for all of the assets, but really what this last column is saying is if you were going to put an amount away in your rates every year and invest it, how much should I be putting away so that as the assets come due, you won't have to issue debt, you'd have money in your reserves to actually fund that. And that is equal to about $18.7 million annually. Now we are not there yet, but we definitely keep that in mind and are looking to include transfers to the reserves to help mitigate future debt financing needs. And that's something that staff are mindful of every year through the budget process as well. On operating expenditures, we started with your 2025 budget and have applied various different inflationary factors depending on the type of expenditure. For salaries, wages, and benefits, we've assumed a 2.5% annual increase. As well for employee benefits and materials, there's a 2% increase, and for contracted services, 3%. Other than that, there's some interfunctional adjustments that inflate at about 5.5% annually. What that looks like for your operating forecast, for those pure operating day-to-day costs for your water system, we are looking at $1.7 million almost in 2026. Inflating up to over $2.2 million by the end of the forecast period. The capital related components are things such as transfers to reserves, transfers directly to capital from your operating, as well as transfers to debt charges that need to be paid off annually for previous capital works that are have been debenture financed, or future capital works that we're identifying will need to be debenture financed. So in total, what you're trying to recover from your rates is increasing from what we predict about $4.6 million next year, upwards of almost $8.4 million by the end of the forecast period for the water system. For wastewater, similarly, we're predicting about $4.6 million needed in 2026, and that increasing up to almost 8.4 million as well by the end of the forecast period. For all of the rates, both non-metered and metered, we have imposed or predicted a 1.95% annual increase. So you can see that a lot of the inflationary impacts that are built into this are still are higher than actually what we're considering rate increases will need to be over this forecast period. And that's partly due to the fact that as you're growing and new customers are coming on, they're helping to contribute to this, paying for the system and keeping the rate increases down. As an example, for a non-metered residential customer that has that 3 to 5 people in their dwelling unit, in 2025, what they would be paying right now is about $1,081. That would increase to just over $1,300 over the forecast period. On a water wastewater combined, for a customer that's metered on a 1-inch meter with 48 units in a building using that 200,000 average imperial gallon worth of consumption, they'd be paying just over $9,400 now for the year, and that would go up to over $11,000, almost $11,500. But keep in mind that then gets divided into the 48 units to look at it on a per unit basis. In comparison to where your rates are currently with other municipalities in the surrounding area to you, right now your current rates and all of these other rates are also 2025 rates. You're sort of lower to the middle of the comparators, and really going up to that 1.95% increase in 2026 isn't really moving where you are falling into your competitors for a residential customer. What we've used in other municipalities where they do have metered customers is we've assumed that they use approximately 140 cubic meters a year and are on a 5/8 inch meter, which is typical for a residential customer, similar to your residential customer on a flat rate at that 3 to 5 people per dwelling unit. For next steps, this study has been provided to you. We are looking at full cost recovery for water and wastewater through the rates, maintaining transfers to reserves and reserve funds for both services are needed. We do want to point out that there are assumptions in the study that because of those growth-related needs for the water and wastewater treatment plant, where you are recovering over a longer period of time through development charges from new growth, there will be in the back end of this forecast period the potential need for your water and wastewater rates to help cash flow some of those annual debt payments until such time as the development charges are collected. And that's something that should be monitored as well going forward to ensure that you still have the funding available depending on actual growth take-up. Obviously, it's the rates are before you for your consideration for approval for the 2026 year. The future years after that would be considered through your annual budget processes as well. Happy to receive any feedback from council or the public on the calculated rates that are put forward. And then obviously we recommend that you revisit your rate study in another 5 years, especially with the treatment plants being completed by then, to validate what you still need to recover going forward. That's my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you very much for that, Nancy. I'll open it up to council if they have any questions or comments. Councillor Conley?
Thank you, Nancy. My only question is, will the report be circulated to council?
I believe it was circulated last week.
Okay, perfect.
Deputy Mayor Tennant?
Not that it's anything but curiosity, but why do we do everything in gallons, imperial gallons, instead of in metric?
Because your meters are actually recording data in imperial gallons. You may find in future, as you replace those, you go to ones that count the volumes in cubic meters. But right now, the meters that are out there in place are actually recording and counting imperial gallons.
Made in USA, that makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? Mayor Randall?
Thank you very much for the presentation. A lot of numbers to digest and go over. Our staff have been very good to keep us abreast of all the things that are going on in town and the cost of those items for all citizens, including I think those around the council table who are all citizens. These numbers are huge and will continue to grow. It's good that we are able to predictably have a rate set that seems fair, I think, to be honest, with everything that we have going on. But with those numbers, one of the things that I do with the county, being warden, is I sit on a board called the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, and we regularly speak to the province and provincial ministers about deficits in Eastern Ontario alone of about $6.8 billion, in infrastructure that will have to be done in the coming years, and that we're looking for fair and predictable and equitable funding from the province on infrastructure projects across Eastern Ontario. And that I look at the comparators of the other municipalities on our list where we're kind of in the middle. I think that there are some on that list whose rates probably will increase to a large degree, I think, over time. And so I think we're in a good spot. I know it seems like huge numbers, and they are, but our staff are, with the help of Watson's, are making sure that we are funded properly moving forward, knowing who we have coming down the pipe with the debt fees and our rates that we are going to cover ourselves off in the future, and that folks like myself and future mayors and wardens will continue to push the provincial government for more funding and equitable funding and predictable funding. And that's the thing, is that we know what 10 years down the road, so that we can have a predictable 1.95 and people can plan for that, and we as council can plan for that as well. So thank you very much for your presentation. I'll probably have some questions, but they'll come after I review the presentation again. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Nancy from council? See none. Thank you very much again, Nancy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, up next is a presentation, the Franktown Road Secondary Plan. This is a statutory public meeting under the Planning Act. We have Mark Rivet and Ellery Vincent from J.L. Richards to give us a background and presentation on that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As mentioned, I'm Ellery Vincent, and I'm a planner at JL Richards, and I'm joined by Mark Reve, Senior Planner as well at JL Richards. So we, along with SGL Planning and Design, our urban design subconsultants on the project, have been employed to provide support in the creation of the Franktown Road Neighborhood Secondary Plan. I'll be providing a brief overview of the plan area, the planning process, and the preferred plan. Then, as outlined, we look forward to hearing any public comments or questions from council on the plan as well. Next slide. So the purpose of the Franktown Road Neighborhood Secondary Plan is to guide the long-term future growth and development of the 25-hectare plan area in the Franktown Road neighborhood. The secondary plan intends to provide policy directions on land use, built form, densities, building height, open space, transportation, and servicing in the area. The plan is to reflect the town's direction to promote future development that enhances connectivity between neighborhoods, offers a diverse mix of land uses, makes efficient use of existing infrastructure, and fosters a complete community for residents of all ages and abilities. In terms of where we are at in the planning process, we are currently in the beginning of stage 4 at the statutory public meeting, in which we are all here to gather comments from everyone on the preferred plan, after which we'll take that feedback we heard tonight, as well as any feedback we gathered from the August 7th open house, consider potential revisions and prepare a staff report to address public comments and questions, as well as provide details of any changes to the plan. So the vision for the Franktown Road Neighborhood Secondary Plan is to promote the intensification of the 25-hectare plan area with a preliminary servicing strategy, alternative stormwater management, urban design guidelines, support for the creation of rental and affordable housing, and the ability for businesses to expand and locate in the area, thereby increasing potential employment opportunities. The realization of these objectives will help to create a more urban mixed-use neighborhood that is age-friendly, equitable, diverse, and supports a low-carbon, climate-resilient, and vibrant community. The vision is guided by a set of principles, which at a high level include ensuring a strong sense of place, compact and efficient urban form, diversity of housing types with appropriate residential density that encourages active transportation, a high-quality built form, an inclusive community with a mix of housing and services, incorporation of climate-resilient features, and efficient and sustainable servicing solutions. So in the second open house that was held for residents and stakeholders within the Franktown Road neighborhood on June 3rd to provide an opportunity to review 2 draft land use options for the Franktown Road neighborhood secondary plan. Feedback was gathered on the 2 options at the open house, in addition to written comments, which were summarized in a memo to the town and used to inform the preferred plan. Feedback largely focused on ensuring pedestrian and vehicular connectivity throughout the site, the incorporation of natural features, and supporting a mix of uses. We took the feedback gathered, existing plan policy and legislation, as well as the surrounding land use context, considered it, and the options were evaluated against the guiding principles for the secondary plan to inform the preferred land use plan. The preferred land use plan is presented here and proposes the following land use features: a greater focus on mixed use infill development, pedestrian-oriented mixed-use frontage along Franktown Road, internal residential designations that are buffered from high-volume external streets, a 1-hectare park located in the central area of the plan, a multi-use path along an existing stream, highway commercial land uses focused around existing plazas, and a majority of public roads with sidewalks as well as multi-use paths throughout the plan area to encourage active transportation and circulation. To briefly describe the land use designations that are being proposed, the Highway Commercial District designation is intended to provide commercial land uses to help promote the efficient distribution of goods and services. The mixed use designations, including the medium density mixed use 1 designation, is intended to foster residential neighborhood character along Franktown Road while enabling a mix of ground floor commercial uses. Medium density mixed use 2 designation is intended to accommodate greater residential density with commercial uses also on the ground floor. The residential designations, including the medium density residential 1 designation, is intended to permit a variety of residential uses that are compatible with the surrounding neighborhood context. Medium density 2 designation, medium density residential 2 designation is intended to allow for greater residential density, which is intended to be appropriately transitioned through that medium density residential 1 designation. And then lastly, the park and open space designation is intended to provide a hub for gathering and recreation within the plan area. So to briefly highlight the high-level public and private realm design guidelines, which were prepared by SGL. Public realm, so this includes things such as parks, sidewalks, paths. The design guidelines include a range at a high level, accessibility standards, mid-block connections, native vegetation, public seating, low-impact development measures for stormwater management, clearly marked curbs, signage, gateway features such as public art, as well as energy-efficient lighting, amongst other proposed guidelines. Private realm guidelines are intended to include street-facing facades, landscape buffers with native vegetation, permeable surfaces, canopies, awnings, as well as other animating and engaging features. These design guidelines are intended to help implement the policies contained within the secondary plan. A proposed preliminary servicing strategy has been prepared by qualified members of our team based on the proposed plan, existing drainage conditions and features, existing proposed infrastructure, and adjacent development. The sanitary servicing network is identified here in red and utilizes an existing outlet for the site to the southeast, discharging at McNeely and traversing towards the pump station on Highway 7. The water network is identified in blue with proposed connections to all locations. It presents a looped system to optimize the pressure for conditions in the area. The stormwater network is identified in green with proposed outlets to the existing drainage channel, which is consistent with the existing drainage conditions in the area. Individual lots will be responsible for on-site stormwater management provisions, and the proposed road network will be subject to compliance with the town standards. That is it for now for me. So thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to share the plan and discuss it. As mentioned previously, we really look forward to hearing feedback. I'll turn it back over to the town. Thank you.
For that. There we go. Thank you very much for that. As this is a public meeting under the Planning Act, all wishing to speak on this matter will have the opportunity this evening. To ensure an orderly discussion, please note that speakers will be recognized one at a time, and each person is allowed up to 5 minutes to speak. If you wish to provide additional comments, you're welcome to submit them in writing after this as well. Is there a deadline for these submissions in writing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We allow comments right up until a bylaw is passed, but I would say to be effective in providing your comments for consideration and inclusion in the plan, we'd like them the week prior to the council being brought forward with the final staff report, which is the week of the 23rd.
Thank you for that, Nikki. So is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak on this topic? Please state your name for the record, and again, you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of Committe. My name is Philip Osterhout. I am appearing as counsel this evening for 1384341 Ontario Ltd, as well as for Patton Homes. And I'm here to voice my client's objection to the northern collector road that is proposed for the draft secondary plan. In advance of this evening's meeting, we've also provided written submissions. I hope that each of you will take the opportunity to review those, and we'll consider them in addition to our oral comments this evening. My client is the owner and the builder for the lands known as the Coleman Phase 2 secondary subdivision. The lands are, if the secondary plan is described as having kind of a U-shape area, the Coleman lands are the center of that U. So they are surrounded by the Franktown Road neighborhood. They were initially excluded from the study area. And until the August revision, they were not intended to be subject to the secondary plan. As we heard, there have been 3 public meetings, public open houses with respect to the proposed plan. The second one, held in May, proposed 2 different land use options. Both of those options provided transportation networks that suggested a local road connection to the Coleman lands at an appropriate location. Neither of them, though, proposed any roads outside the study area for the plan. With the August revision presented just before the 3rd public open house, that was revised to include a 20-meter collector road, which passes from McNeely to Franktown in more or less a straight line through the middle of the Coleman lands. The secondary plan doesn't provide much justification for this change. There's no rationale for the need for this connection. What the Franktown Road secondary plan does suggest is that traffic calming measures should be included so that residents aren't using this road as a means of through traffic from one road to the other. It's our submission on that basis that either of the 2 options proposed for the earlier concept plans would be more appropriate in preventing through traffic through the residential community. I also note that council has recently approved a new transportation master plan for the town. That was finalized in October of 2022. It also doesn't provide any justification for a collector road at this location. It does include a connection between Franktown and McNeely, but suggests that it be located south of the Coleman lands. My client has been working with the town for the development of the Coleman land for years. They have a final approved plan of subdivision. It was registered last month. That registration legally creates local roads. It lays out residential lots and blocks. And throughout the lengthy subdivision process, there was no suggestion from the town that a collector road would be required in this location. The result of that is the plan as registered does not contemplate the connection. It doesn't accommodate it. And as a result, the collector road would be passing through a newly created parcel of land, would also fundamentally change the character of the neighborhood that's currently being designed around the layout of this community. For that reason, it's our submission that the secondary plan will need to be revised prior to final approval. And we'd ask that the collector road be removed from the northern end over the Coleman lands. I welcome any questions from the committee and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Tennant.
So I summarize that your client doesn't want to lose the land effectively. Are you able to guess how many units might be lost as part of the, if we went ahead with that plan?
I'm not at this time. The collector road would pass through a residential development block. It is aligned with what was intended to be a local road at one side of the plan, and then it proceeds to pass through fixed block. That block is currently being designed and intended to move forward quickly. The implications, though, of having a collector road through a community that was planned around internal local roads only, I think would take a bit more of a significant planning revision.
Mayor Randall.
So you did make a comment, and you forgive me, I've never seen you before. I know Julie is behind you and she's the planner for your client. And so maybe this is more a comment for Julie to take back and consider. when Coleman Central was approved and the second portion of Coleman Central was discussed, this was just a green space of the rest of it. I don't think anybody was under any illusions that the rest of this green space would be developed, that eventually developers or landowners would want to build on this space. That's just what is happening here in Carleton Place. But at the time, when Coleman Central was finished and Coleman Central 2 is being brought to us, of which I will remind everybody that there was concerns with Coleman Central 2 that the town worked with your client for and came to some resolution to assist your client, which we are glad to do with any developer if it's mutually beneficial and can help everybody. I don't recall if I personally raised it or somebody else raised it, but moving people to and from that green space, of which you're a part of it, but there's probably 10 other landowners within that, 2 of which have been approved, another very large one that will be probably coming to us at some point to add commercial or residential along that corridor that you're talking about now. One of the concerns that this council had, and I voiced in a public meeting multiple times, I believe, was how the heck are we going to move everybody around that space? And the only options were, until this was contemplated, was through your client's existing subdivision, which is not ideal. If all of a sudden we have, let's just say on a small scale, 500 additional people coming through, but I'm going to say it's probably thousands of people a day once that thing is built out, traveling through Coleman Central 1. Not ideal, I would suggest. And again, I'm not a planner. I'm just someone with a set of eyes, and I like to think that I think conscientiously about these things. The other option was to not go through that subdivision out to Coleman and to turn down a side street that has no sidewalks, that was never meant for this level of traffic, and feeds into Franktown Road at a spot that over time is going to get very, very busy because of the development within this coming out, whether it's through this land or through the southern portion of this entire plot of land. And so that is my question, I guess, is where would you like all these people to go? Is it through your subdivision, or is it through this small narrow street with no current sidewalks, with houses built on the road essentially, because that's what we did in Carleton Place 100 years ago, that is not meant for the level of traffic? And we can't punch out the other way because we went through a tesser with the MTO long, like during and before Coleman Central 2 was finally approved, to see if we could punch out that way, because we knew that this land was going to be developed with commercial and residential, and a ton of people were going to have to move in and out of this. There was no intention at first, from what I can gather, that we could go to McNeely, because I think I must have said that, I think 1,000 times to staff, is like, there's a set of lights right there. Like if we could just punch out at McNeely, we could just move people out there. I'm not so worried about people cutting through this subdivision, although I will take you at what you said, is absolutely, will there be people that want to go from McNeely to Franktown Road and cut through? That is a possibility, and we'd have to find ways to mitigate traffic and make sure it's safe for everybody, as I know your client and every client that would be through there would want to do, and 100%. But at the end of the day, we have to move not only your homeowners, your clients' homeowners in and out of this space, but we have a bunch of other land developers, one in Neil Chatta that has an old folks home, houses that border along your client's Coleman Central 2. We have another, the folks that own the mall at the end of that land have got I think it's 100-unit apartment complex. Chatta's got, I can't remember how many houses and apartments, but it's a fair bit. And then there's another 6 plots of land as well, of commercial and residential, that are going to want to build in here. And I guess that's my question to you is, and I'm not going to look at you, I'm going to look at Julie and say, how do we move all these people around? And this is not us trying to be a pain in the butt. That's just a legitimate question. And they're your clients, and we've got to think of other clients as well, that they are going to want to use this land and make some money off it, and that's fair. And very rarely, because if we say no, people take us to OMB and we get it overturned and it's a waste of taxpayer money. So we don't want to do that. We do want to work with all of these clients, including your client, to help usher everybody around this space that, quite frankly, and I don't know if you're from Carleton Place, but I was born and raised here, and we used to goof around in that space. Before Walmart was there, when we were kids, we used to just take dirt bikes and play war and whatever the heck else we did. It was never intended to have the densities that it's going to see in the next 10 or 15 years. And if we don't have ways to move people, I think we're not doing your clients, your clients' clients the right service, or anybody else that moves in there. So I'm all ears. I want to do what's best for everybody moving forward. And if you can find a way to move the amount of people that are going to be in there without having that road come through, then please bring it forward. And I understand it, that everybody's going to lose a little bit in there if we add more roads. I've got other landowners that have called staff, called myself to say, hey, you can't do that. That's my land. And we all have to sacrifice for the greater good of our future, some of which some of our citizens, don't want at all. They'd love for Carleton Place just to stop being what it is right now and be 13,000 people and not 25,000 people, where I think this council is, quite frankly, realistic to that we're going. And I'm sorry to get on a bit of a soapbox here. I'm not trying to, but I really want to impress upon you and your client, who I have the utmost respect for. They're a huge employer in our region. They do great things for our community and our surrounding communities. And this isn't a shot at them or any other person that's going to come down the pipe. I ask you again, and I'll just leave it at this, is give me something better, because one lane in to, and somebody give me the street that is at the end of the Nelson Street. Nelson Street West is not intended for what's about to hit it, and neither is your subdivision to get through to it. I don't think the people that bought your clients' houses were expecting that 500 new cars or 1,000 new cars a day were going to travel through their tight-knit community with kids and all that stuff. I don't really think that was the intention. I don't think it was your client's intention, to be honest, but here we are, and we all have to do what's best. And I hope that whatever is decided at the end, with your input and everybody else's input that owns land back there, that we do what's best for our future citizens and not just what's best for one person. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you. And I know that's not a question and you just listened to me rant for a while, but I wasn't really speaking to you. I was speaking to Julie, because I've worked with her before and I know she cares, and I know Kavanaugh cares. That's who your client is, and Patton. I know you do care. And I'm asking everybody that has land back there, because it's going to get built. There's not going to be a stitch of green space back there. And quite frankly, I find that sad, but since we're all going to develop it, let's all sacrifice a little bit and do what's best for everybody that's going to come, including your own clients. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much, Mr. Oosterhuis. Appreciate your time tonight. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on this topic this evening?
I'd like to just ask a question with getting a copy of the presentation you just saw. Is that possible on the town website or through Mickey?
So the question being asked is there going to be a copy of this presentation available to the public, Nikki?
Thank you. Yes, already posted to the town's website is a copy of the secondary plan. We will similarly post the presentation material. But if people are looking for the context map that was available in the presentation, it is already available on the town's website.
Thank you for that. So again, is last call anyone for this topic that would like to speak? See none? Good. Moving on. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is we have a request for a veterans crosswalk, and presenting this evening will be Father David Andrew, Just a reminder, Mr. Andrew, you have 10 minutes to speak.
I'm pretty sure. Good luck with that.
I am Father David Andrew, and I am the Padre of the Captain A. Roy Brown branch of the Royal Canadian Legion. With me this evening is the president of the branch and Carleton Place Citizen of the Year, Peter Schaefer. Our treasurer, Jeff Bradley. Our comrade constable or constable comrade, Beth Holohan, who's our membership chair. And we're here to talk about a crosswalk, but I got to give you a little bit of background. A dear member of ours, Carl Belanger, was invited to lay a wreath in Vaughan, Ontario. Happy anniversary, counselor. I remember that day well. The bride was beautiful. The groom was so-so. The priest was magnificent. Anyhow, happy anniversary, sir. Carl went, as is his wont. He drove a 10-hour round trip to perform a 2-minute duty, laying a wreath in Vaughan. But while there, he saw a veterans crosswalk. He came home with the notion that it would be something that we could do well in Carleton Place. Carleton Place has a rich history and military background. The number of people who have served and died, we call 94 names out every Remembrance Day. And to put that into some kind of perspective, the population of Carleton Place in 1916 was probably a couple of thousand. So between that and the Second World War, to have 94 names is a huge commitment on the town and on Lanark County in general. And that's those who did not come home. So there was a huge number who served and did come home. Excuse me, many of them broken, but nevertheless, they came home. So Carl designed this crosswalk and thought it was great. We will be leaving you a copy of the Hockey News, which did an article on Carl. Carl tragically passed away on May 1st of this year in a boating accident. I find it very ironic that a man who served in Bosnia, who served in 2 tours of Afghanistan and jumped out of countless airplanes and went to the United States to teach the Green Beret how to parachute, falls out of a boat and dies. Something wrong with that picture. Anyhow, we made a promise, I made a promise to Carl that we would continue his legacy. I sent a copy of the design. Do you have, does someone have it? Oh, great. So that's our crosswalk. The 2 soldiers saluting, standing guard. We put the stag, Carleton Place's shield, and lest we forget. The stag, I realize, is the property of the town, and we would have to get permission to use that. But Carl felt that there are thousands nowadays, well, maybe exaggerating, hundreds of crosswalks like this across Ontario. In fact, I saw one in Cochrane, Alberta. But they're all very, very similar. The stag would make it unique to Carleton Place. So it would be ours. Lest we forget is always used. And we sort of thought around the area of the cenotaph, which kind of makes perfect sense. I had in retrospect, maybe a silly brainwave. of moving it, but talking to Guy Burgon, the Director of Public Works, he stressed safety above safety above safety. So we need stop signs in the area where it's going to be and whatnot. So we will be painting. We will ask for the town's cooperation to close the area while my painter is at it. I really wouldn't want him smucked. Non-skid reflective paints to be used. My understanding is someone had done one before without the proper paint peeled. This is a guaranteed. The life expectancy is supposed to be 5 years with this type of paint, according to my painter. Have I forgotten anything? I think that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for that, Father Andrew. There'll be an opportunity for discussion from council later on. We have a motion to later on in the agenda. So again, thank you very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. Have a great evening.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that is it for delegations and presentations this evening. We will be moving on to reports, which we have 4 this evening.
Thank you all.
The first report is Strong Mayor Powers, the budget process, communication 136079, which will be presented to us this evening by Teresa McConkey, our treasurer. Teresa, I'll let you go through your report and then I'll put the motion on the floor after.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the fall of 2022, the province passed the first Strong Mayor Power legislation for a small number of very large municipalities. This year, they have now expanded that to any municipality with a council of 7 or more. So Carleton Place is affected by this legislation. There are many other parts to the legislation, but I'm focusing on the budget process. So the legislation designates the budget is now the mayor's budget, and there is no ability to delegate this back to council or to staff. It is the mayor's budget. Mr. Mayor and I sat down and had a look at a schedule that would as closely mirror our past practice as possible. So, council. So what we have, what Mr. Mayor has directed me to do is to follow this Appendix D at the back of my report. So similar to past years, council will get their budget binder on or about the 21st of October. However, at that time, the public will also receive a summary of that budget. And then we're going to carry on with our normal. We do a full day with manager presentations, and then we have another day booked for further presentations if needed or deliberation by council. So once after the council receives the budget, there's a 30-day window for amendments that council can propose amendments. So our 2 budget days fall in there. And then we also have a council meeting after that on November 20th. So at any point between October 21st and November 20th, councillors can propose amendments, and it's voted on by all of council, including the mayor, and a simple majority would carry the amendment. So after the 30 days, Council can opt to shorten that period if they wish, but after the 30 days or whenever it's shortened to, the mayor has until November 30th. So he has 10 days that he can veto any of those amendments that have been made by council. Again, Mr. Mayor can choose to shorten that veto period of 10 days. And if he does not make an amendment or if he does not veto an amendment at the end of the 10 days or the date that he shortened that to, the budget is adopted. It does not come back to council for approval. It is just adopted. So if Mr. Mayor does veto one of the amendments, then council has 15 days to override his veto or to tell me that they wish to shorten that time period. To override his veto, we must have a 2/3 majority, meaning you'd have 5 councillors vote to quash the veto. If there's none of that, at the end of that timeline, we have a budget. It's adopted. So what this doesn't do, this process, is set the tax rates. That is still council's authority, and the water and sewer rates the same. However, you can't impede the mayor's budget. So basically you have to raise enough money to implement the budget that's been adopted, but you could raise more and put it in a reserve, or like it's still your authority. The big change, I guess, for me is that the water and sewer budget is now part of this budget. So it's kind of good timing that we've had this rate study that confirms, our projections over the next 10 years. So I'll bring forward a bylaw for you to approve water and sewer rates, but I won't be bringing forward the normal water and sewer budget presentation. It'll be part of the mayor's budget. Did I miss anything?
Great, thanks, Teresa. First of all, I'll just put the motion on the floor. That council receive as information the treasurer's report on strong mayor powers and the 2026 budget process dated August 26, 2025. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Tennant, seconded by Mayor Randall. Is there any discussions on this? Mayor Randall?
Thank you, Teresa. Question with the water rates that or the sewer budget. Can I ask that you present it in the same manner that you've always presented it? Like you just said, I'm not bringing it forward the way I have in the past. Do I have the ability to say, no, just present it that way, and then we'll just add our 1.95 into it, I guess. I've always appreciated the way that you brought it, and it made sense to me. I think it made sense to council, and believe me, before I'm asking the question, but I would go to my council members to see if everybody was in favor of this, but I'm just curious if I can ask of that, since I get to make decisions now.
So I believe I would have to follow a strong mayor budget process whereby I present a budget on your behalf. There'd be a 30-day timeline. There'd be a period for amendments. There'd be a veto period, and there'd be a period for quashing that veto. And at the end of which we'd bring forward a recommendation for the 1.95% increase to rates.
But yeah, it is. But as part of the budget process, the explanation because I'm asking staff to essentially just do what we've always done. I know we have to do some changes, but can part of that request be, when you're presenting this portion of the tax rate or the budget, that you present the water budget as you have in the past? Is that an option I have or not?
You can direct me to do that, but again, the timelines would all have to apply, and council wouldn't be voting on the budget. It would be acclaimed at the end of the process. Now, I can come with with information to, you know, which we just received, actually. I'll be coming with that same information next meeting to ask you to approve a 1.95% increase.
Last but not least, so again, Teresa and I sat down and we really haven't discussed strong mayor powers here. I really haven't made too many comments about it. I had conversations with staff about just carrying on as we do, and that I have no, I never asked for these powers. I intend to continue to democratically work with my council to do all of our business. So that's first off. And second, Teresa stated it, but I'll state it again, is that I asked this to mirror as close as possible while respecting the new rules the province has passed down to us, that our budget process just stay the same as best we can. And that I know that Teresa will, because it's probably going to be a little confusing the day of, and I want it to be as it has been for for 4 of us the past 7 or 8 budgets now. For the 3 councillors new this term, I want it to be the same as we've had it in the past 4 budgets now, and that that Teresa will give us guidance and Diane will give us guidance along the process, because I know that during the day we'll probably muck things up the way they want us to do it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, and we'll just try and carry on as close as we can to what we've done in the past.
Thank you, Mayor Randall. Any other questions? Sorry, Stacy.
I just want to add that one of the requirements of the mayor making a decision or a strong mayor decision is that it has to be published. So this decision is on our website, as will any other future decisions.
Any other questions or comments? No? See none, I will put the motion to a vote. All in favor? Opposed? And that motion is carried. Moving on, Teresa, stay where you're at, please. Supplemental billing, Provincial Offences Court 2024, communication 136080. And the floor is yours, Teresa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in Lanark County, the town of Perth manages the Provincial Offences Court for all municipalities within Lanark County. And that means that they run an actual court, plus they collect monies from tickets that are written by police or that are written by bylaw officers and weren't paid within the appropriate time, go to the court. So forever, we've gotten a share of the revenue based on a weighted assessment average, which typically is used to split things in the county. Seems to be a fair way. So it's always been revenue. In 2024, I guess I've just learned that the Ministry of the Attorney General required our POA court to implement new software. And this created a deficit in 2024, for which I received an invoice about 2 weeks ago. That's why I'm bringing it forward right now. So the invoice is for $12,154, and I'm looking for approval to pay that invoice and to fund it out of our year-end surplus. And I say here, or strategic reserve, but we'll have a surplus that will cover this, I'm fairly certain. As far as future, revenues have been decreasing over time, and I have not gotten an estimate, I suppose, for 2025 or 2026, but I'm hoping we're back to revenue. And I take any question.
Thank you, Teresa. I will put this suggested motion on the floor. The council approve the payment of the 2024 Provincial Offences Act POA invoice to the town of Perth in the amount of $12,153.99. with the budget deviation to be taken from the year-end surplus, if any, or from the strategic reserves. Can I have that moved and second? Moved by Councillor Comley, second by Councillor Kavanaugh. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so the deficit that they're showing is specific to the cost of implementing this new software? Is that the understanding?
That's the response to I got to my exact same question.
Will there be an impact now that we have our own like AMP program that's
So maybe you can
Sure.
answer that.
Not really. They're pretty unrelated. So, I mean, if there was amps being issued and then less fines being issued because of that, I mean, potentially that could lower the amount of revenue that is at the count or at the first, but because it's divided amongst all the municipalities, I don't imagine you'd really see much of a difference.
And just to add to that, the biggest bulk from having worked at Perth of the revenue is from tickets issued by police and the collection of that, not really from bylaw tickets that weren't paid in time.
Any other questions or comments on this? See none. Motion's on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? And that motion is carried. Next up, we have Stacey Blair, Clerk, amendment to traffic and parking bylaw accessibility, communication 136081. Stacey, the floor is yours.
So this bylaw amendment is mostly an update to make the accessibility provisions within our traffic and parking bylaw more robust. It includes a number of new definitions. It also establishes what size and how many spaces there are supposed to be for accessible parking. As well, it establishes the responsibility of maintaining accessible parking spaces. It lays out what is expected or required for accessible parking signs. And that's pretty much it. One of the differences is that it will give us the ability to ticket people who are in a accessible parking spot and shouldn't be on public and private land. And that is because it's being identified in the bylaw. There's three elements that are municipal law enforcement officers, they're already appointed. So that's one of the things. That it's in the bylaw is the second thing, and that proper signage is existing. So this helps establish what that proper signing is amongst a number of other things. So, and it's been passed before the Accessibility Advisory Committee, who was quite pleased with it.
Great. Thank you for that, Stacey. I will put the motion on the floor. The suggested motion is that the council amend the traffic and parking bylaw 46-2003 as outlined in the clerk's report dated August 26, 2025 to enhance the town's regulation of accessible parking, and the council repeal private parking bylaw 39-2012. I got a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Kavanaugh, seconded by Councillor Sekaspina. And is there any discussions on this? Councillor Sekaspina, followed by Deputy Mayor Tennant.
So Stacy, as a user of handicap parking, I'm going to get this question asked to me and I want the correct answer. If I park in a private parking spot like Walmart or Independent or Giant Tiger, we can only call OPP to relieve these people out of those spots. These businesses apparently need to sign a list for us to be able to call bylaw. Or is this just going to be for our very own public parking?
So no, as long as the spot is properly signed, in accordance with the Ontario standards, both bylaw and the OPP would be able to ticket that person.
Deputy Mayor Tennant?
Yeah, great to see some of these changes. I just wanted to comment that I wanted to thank the Accessibility Advisory Committee, which I work with, for submitting comments and on short notice, but that was great. Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
One additional comment is that if there is an existing parking lot that is, say, grandfathered in from before, because a lot of these are actually provincial requirements. So if there's a parking lot that has been in existence for an extremely long time and doesn't meet the current standards, it could potentially be grandfathered in. However, that doesn't relieve them of the responsibility to maintain the accessible parking spot. And as well, the minute that the parking lot is renovated or refurbished, like resurfaced, it then is required to meet the accessibility standards.
Thank you for that. Is there any other questions or comments at this time? I see none. Oops, I didn't put my microphone. And that motion is carried. Next, we are on to Diane Smithson, CAO, Beckwith Street amendments to parking lease, communication 136082. Diane?
So back in June, before summer break, I brought a report to council to create or enter into a lease with the owner of the former Spartan property, along with a lot addition that property owner undertook to create a new parking lot that would be used essentially during the day for during the week, during business hours for town staff use, and then outside of those hours for the public's use and to support downtown parking. At that time, I had presented his original plan, which was that council would pay a monthly rent of $2,500 per month or $30,000 per year for the use of that. And that was based on him undertaking the work required to complete the parking lot. He's a little bit further along in his plans, and he has come back with some amendments to what I had previously proposed on his behalf. He's asking for an additional $100 per month rent. So instead of $2,500 per month, he's now asking for $2,600. That would also be increased by CPI with a 3% cap from year over year, and it's based on a 5-year lease, if you'll recall. He's also asking that originally he had proposed to put signage on a fence because they're doing a higher end fence, which he has worked out with his adjacent neighbors. They do not want to put signage on the fence any longer. So he's asking that he be allowed to install 4 to 5 posts, which would be kind of similar to what you would see out on the street where we have the banner arms. So he would be allowed to put his signage that would help him to generate additional revenue on those signposts. But during the summer months when we have our flower baskets out, he would allow us to install a flower basket on each one to help improve the look of the parking lot. He has also, in order to protect the property owner at essentially the end of the parking lot, there would be one entrance and then it would go I think that's easterly direction. At the end, there would be bollards to prevent somebody from driving into the new fence, into the adjacent property owner's property. And he is asking that one parking spot be reserved for his purposes, so that as he has an Airbnb, I think is what he deems it. He has a coach house 2 doors down that he's looking to have a parking space on that could be used by that rental. And I have presented to council in the report various options. Council can approve all of the amendments as requested by the owner. You could approve, say, items 2 to 4 only, 2, 3, 4 only, or any other combination as arises out of the discussion tonight. And I'll leave it at that. I have given in the financial implications. It would be $1,200 additional yearly rent if you agreed to the 100 additional dollars. With $6,000 obviously over the life of the term, but that would increase by the 3% maximum cost of living increase as well. Okay.
Thank you for that, Diane. I will put this, we have 3 options to consider tonight. I will put the suggested motion on the floor that council approve option X as amendments to the 5-year lease agreement with Ben Elliott as outlined in the report by the CAO dated August 26, 2025. Can I get a mover and seconder for that? Sorry, yes. We should probably just move the option first. No? Okay. Okay. Sorry. So I need someone to move and second. Moved by Mayor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. And Eddie.
So when the mover is moving, if they could put one of the options in the motion for consideration, get a seconder for that option, please, and thank you.
Yeah, we'll open it up for discussion first then.
Okay,
Yeah, so is there any discussion on this or comments? Start with Mayor Randall.
I have a question about option number 4. Is how are we going to stop people from parking in that space? Like, who's going to monitor it? And if someone was parked in that space, how would, like, say somebody went on a Saturday, parked in this person's space, there's no way that we can, or that I can see, or you can explain to me how we would get the person out.
We're not going to police it. I think he would put up a sign saying this is a private parking space. And if somebody parks there, the onus is on him. We're not going to police that for him.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Tennant?
Yeah, I want to continue down this. So if that were to happen and he were to hire a tow truck to come and get rid of this person that's on our leased land, how would that work?
Never do I foresee that all 22 of those parking spaces are going to be used at any one time. So if that space happens to be used, I'm sure they could utilize another space within the parking lot. I don't like, we would have to put provisions in the lease agreement. I haven't, like, we're working on a draft, so we could just put in there that, you know, if somebody's in that parking space, like, he just doesn't have it.
Councillor Comley, followed by Mayor Randall.
2 short questions. One, what was the rationale for the increase in the lease amount? Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, increased costs to prepare the parking space, like to prepare the site, because as you recall in my original report, there were 2 options. We would prepare the site or he would prepare the site. And I think as he's gone further along and gotten a contractor to do the work, I think he's seen that the cost is more, which is what we were experiencing when we suggested we put it onto him to do the work.
And is there any change to the number of parking spots, or are we still where we initially agreed?
So I think we're down to 21, but we have presented the proposal because in the revised plan, we put 2 handicap parking spaces. We are still working with the town's accessibility advisory committee regarding those spaces, because if you'll remember, it was pointed out that the spaces don't exactly meet the dimensions that were just included in the previous bylaw for accessibility spaces because of the being able to get in and then having the drive aisle down the middle. It's similar to the existing lot that the town uses right at the corner of Beckwith and Mill Streets. The spaces don't meet the exact sizes that, you know, in terms of length. So we're working with the accessibility committee to say, look, we can meet the width requirements for a handicap parking space, but we cannot meet the length. So either we could continue to provide the 2 spaces in there, knowing that they're not the exact required length, or we could move them from there and have them all just normal parking spaces, not handicapped in the parking lot, and take 2 on-street parking places that currently exist and have them for accessible parking spaces to replace the 2 in there. But that discussion is still ongoing. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. But I think we need input from the Accessibility Advisory Committee and their support for whatever decision, because we've just undergone an audit by the province on accessibility matters, and very much consulting with our advisory committee needs to happen. And so I think there needs to be a support for whatever option is chosen. Okay, so I don't know. Right now there's 21, with 2 of them being handicap spaces. Okay.
Mayor Randall?
With regards to that, I would suggest that Andrew, as Deputy Mayor Tennant, as our member on that committee, that we had discussed the 2 on-site or on-street parking, and I think that one would be the best option in front of, there's 2 spots in front of the washrooms or the chessboard, and I think that would be my preferred option. You've got lots of space to get in and out of vehicles and move around if somebody has a wheelchair or whatever it is, whatever it might be, someone that has accessibility issues in any way, there'd be a lot of space there for them to be able to use it, rather than trying to jam it into a parking lot where things are tight. So Councillor Committe got one of my questions answered, which is what was the justification for the additional 100? Has anything else changed in this plan as far as, is it just the cost in the asphalt? Is there, like, was the fence updated to something different than was originally planned? Is that part of this cost?
So all I know regarding the fence is that they are doing kind of that plasticized wood kind of fence that he's splitting the cost with his 2 neighbors on either side. So did that add to the additional cost? It may have. I don't exactly know that. I do know, as you'll see in the proposal, he is providing the line painting and the bollards as well as part of this plan. So he'll be doing, so when we take it over, it's going to be a parking lot that we can drive into and use.
If we had have done all the work, would we have done the line painting and the bollards and the fence? Why wouldn't we have done the fence?
Because the fence isn't helping the town. So, it's helping him, I guess, have good relations with his neighbors, but it really wouldn't do anything necessarily for the parking lot for the town.
Last follow-up, and that at the end of this 5 years, there's a potential for, depending upon if Mr. Elliott might not be ready to do what he's planning on, he might extend this contract if we agree to that, or we as the community and council and staff would have to then remediate that site back to not a parking lot so that he eventually can build on it.
So as I reported before, the town has first right of refusal should Mr. Elliott decide that he no longer wants to develop the site. At the end of the 5-year lease, he may decide that he's not ready to develop. He might offer us an extension of the current lease. And if he is ready to develop, then the lease, as reported before, what the requirement is on the town to remove the asphalt from the site. So the remediation of the site afterwards is on the town, and that was brought forward originally.
And thank you. So I was trying to get all that information out by asking questions. Is that, first off, I agreed wholeheartedly with this. I think those extra 22 spaces downtown will help out immensely for our staff on the weekends and evenings, for customers using our downtown core, and help our commercial. I am not in favor of adding any additional. I thought it was fair, the amount of money that we were being charged. And wanted the point to be made is that the town is responsible for removing that parking lot at the end of whatever the time is, whether it's 5 years or if it's extended, and that lovely fence is going to remain there for the neighbors. And if part of this fund is to give that, they could put up a wooden fence that wouldn't cost near as much. I don't think that should be on the taxpayers of Carlton Place. The taxpayers are going to benefit from the parking lot. The fence is on the landowner, and since we're going to remediate it and the fence is going to stay, I'm in favor of just leaving it at 2,500. And I don't have issues with the rest of them, although I see number 4 as being unenforceable and causing issues. But if everybody's in favor of that, I'd go along with it.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Just again, 2 little questions. So we're talking about one entrance exit combination now, one way in, one way out. I'm trying to look at this plan. Where is that predicted to be?
So there is a current entrance into the property. He had originally come back and proposed an in and an out, that 2 separate, but it would mean another cut to the curb and additional cost. And we already had our plan that it was in, and then you turn to the right once you go in, and the parking is kind of on both sides. So it's a one in, and you come out the same way that you went in, that same entrance. It's one entrance. The only thing that would change in the proposed plan is, and it was based on a comment, it seems to make sense to me, that instead of the accessible spaces being as you drive in, you have to kind of maneuver around the corner because they're the first spaces on your right. They would just be straight ahead if they stayed within the parking lot. Okay, that's the only thing that I have seen so far that's come forward by the Accessibility Advisory Committee, that if they're staying on the site after the discussions at the meeting, that would make more sense to me for sure. And just, it is 21 spaces because of those handicap spaces now. Okay, we lost one of the spaces.
Okay, thank you. I can appreciate curb cut costs. My concern is where that entrance is directly across from a series of commercial buildings and the parking, and already can get a little bit kerfuffled. Trying to figure a nice way to say it, but it is like people, I foresee people backing in and out and trying to get in, and already there, that I'm not sure what the additional cost is, but it would make more sense to have, if you're only having one way in and one way out, to have it on the side closest to Franklin, to avoid being your in and out space being directly across from a commercial.
So you'll recall that we indicated that we would look at on-street parking to see if any of the existing spaces there need to be removed because of coming around that corner from Mill Street onto Beckwith and sight lines. So it is something we will look at, and maybe because we've gained these extra spaces in the lot, we might have to take out 1 or 2 spaces on the street to kind of help accommodate. And we talked about that in June.
Thank you. I just want to, that should definitely be considered, just, yes. And the only other thing very quickly is, allow us to put up flowers. Is the expectation that we're paying for flower baskets to go into the parking lot? Just.
We don't have to. The option is there should we want to. We don't have to.
Mayor Randall.
That would be a budgetary decision. Sorry. And a group budgetary decision. How about that? So I just did some quick math. If we went with the whole shebang and we moved it to 2,600 with the 3% every year, by the end of the 5th year, the monthly payment would be over $3,000. Now, I'm just to wrap your head around what it would be. It goes, it would go up, roughly $80 to $100 a year. And again, I'm ready to move an option if folks are done. I want to give everybody their opportunity to speak. So if everybody is done, I would move option 2, which is to approve items 2 through 4 only. The only proviso I'd have with that is on option 4, should we get, like to Andrew's point, should we get some legal advice on that as to if we were to grant them one space and they removed a vehicle, like whose insurance covers that kind of thing? I'd just be wary of that, I guess.
Well, yeah, in
If it's-
agreement
yeah.
and saying that he's responsible to ensure, you know, whatever space that is when it, like, we're assuming no responsibility for his tenants or whatever you call them, his lessees, when they rent the space from him. And maybe we just work it out that it's just one of the spaces, maybe not a dedicated one, just somewhere in there he has use of. It's not all the time anyway, it's whenever he has bookings. And so anyway, we'll make sure it's addressed and make sure that the indemnification and insurance provisions for that space are on him.
So I'd move option 2.
Okay, Mayor Randall has put the suggested motion on the floor. I will read it. That council approve option 2 as amendments to the 5-year lease agreement with Ben Elliott as outlined in the report by the CAO dated August 26, 2025. And someone second that motion? Councillor Comley. Any further discussions on that? See none. All in favor? Opposed? See none, and that motion is carried. Thank you. And we are on to new and other business, water wastewater study. The suggested motion is that council receive as information the water wastewater rate study as prepared by Watson and Associates and Economists Limited. Moved by Deputy Mayor Tennant, second by Councillor Kavanaugh. Any further discussions on this? See none. All in favor? Opposed? And that motion is carried. On to request for veterans crosswalk. The suggested motion is that council direct staff to work with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 192 in the installation of a veterans crosswalk, and that the location shall be determined by the Director of Public Works, and that all costs associated with the installation and maintenance of the crosswalk be borne by the Legion. Moved by Councillor Sekaspina, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. Any further discussions on this? Mayor Randall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make an amendment to this suggested motion and actually change the second paragraph or the second line of that to say that the location shall be determined by the Director of Public Works, to that the location be made on the west side of Beckwith and Franklin Street with the consultation of the Director of Public Works, so that we, the reason for that is that that side of the street essentially frames in Veterans Way, and it's attached effectively to the park itself. If it was to be on the other side of that road, I think it's kind of disjointed, but I know that Guy has some questions about the safety of it, which we all want it to be safe, but I would amend it that the location be on the west side of Beckwith and Franklin, and that it be with consultation of the Director of Public Works, and the rest I would leave. If somebody would second that amendment.
Sorry, Mayor Randall, on the east corner or the west corner? You'd said
Sorry, east corner.
Thank you.
Yeah. It spans Franklin and Beckwith effectively on the east corner. So the library side or the park side, essentially. And you're right. Thank you for correcting me. It is the east side.
You a second for that? Yeah. Seconder for the amendment. Deputy Mayor Tennant. Any further discussions on the amendment? Councillor Comley.
Are we approving the design with this motion as well, or is that still to be finalized? I'm not sure who that's directed at. That does approve the design as it is.
One at a time, please. Mayor Randall?
Good job. Good job. I like that. So yeah, I think that's a very valid question is are we in favor of allowing them the use of the stag? Personally, I am in favor, and somebody's about to tell me why I'm wrong here in a second.
I'm just gonna say that we have to decide on the amendment at hand first before we move on to more amendments. Because that's like to say, are we approving the design and are we approving the stag? Right now, we're moving the amendment about where it's located. Yeah. Sorry for my email.
I have a question about that through the clerk so should the motion, because it doesn't say in there that we're approving the design of this. Right. Yep.
That would be an additional amendment. We could just add as presented.
Mr. Chair, want to do this all properly?
Yes.
So I can, okay, so then I would have modified my amendment, but I want people to be able to debate the usage of the stag. So that's because somebody might have an issue with it. I don't, but somebody might. So I guess, what am I saying?
You're amending the wording of your amendment.
Correct.
Seconding the amendment.
I'll stop. God almighty.
All right.
Oh.
I will read. Sorry, I will attempt to read the first amended motion.
The amendment is that the location shall be at the east side of Beckwith Street, across Franklin. Okay. And you said something about being still in consultation with the Director of Public Works. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Your mic.
The design be approved as presented, and then we can debate that.
So that is the amended motion on the floor. The amended motion on the floor, where the first and include Council's first and second, are they good with that? Those amendments? Yes? Okay, good. Any other discussion on the amended motion? Mayor Randall.
On the whole, I think it was a valid point to bring up the stag. I am comfortable with that. I think as Father David stated in his speech to us, that it signifies, it kind of sets this apart. And people have to understand, normally we would let this go for 2 more weeks, bring it back at council, but we're doing this now because time is of the essence. And we want to have this in place long before Remembrance Day comes around. So we're trying to do this in a timely manner for them if everybody is in agreement. But I'm in favor of them adding the stag head and the plaque on there just to kind of give a toss back to the town. So I'm fine with it myself. If anybody has any issues, I'm glad to listen to them.
Any other discussions? Councillor Comley?
I have no issues with using the stag. I think a crosswalk like this is supposed to be for everyone and should represent everyone locally that's looking at it. My question was the letters and numbers under the stag and what those meant.
Mayor Randall.
So the what's underneath it is Lest We Forget. And then there is underneath that is a series of numbers and letters. And what that is essentially homage to Carl, who Father David was discussing, who had brought this forward and died tragically in the boating accident. It's his military number. And I think that since the Legion are the ones that are designing this, are paying for it, are keeping it up, and essentially we're giving them permission to put it on the road. If they choose to honor Carl in this manner, I think that's on the Legion, and I'm kind of just personally staying out of that one. That might not be what I would think to do, but they are very, as a group, very strong in having that number on there.
I'm just not sure the general public will understand what it is or what it means or why it's there.
Mayor Randall?
Thank you. Sorry, they keep coming back to me because I had conversation with Father David about this. I brought these points up as well. They are fully aware of that, and that in general, only military folks would know what that number is, and they understand that. They're willing to answer that question should people ask. Through conversation with Father David, what I essentially said was, if anybody came to me to ask what that number was, I was going to direct them to Father David, because it's a Legion decision to put that in there. But they're fully aware that the average person on the street walking by it might question, and that they are going to get questions because of it.
We're going to get questions because of it.
Which we will deflect to the Legion.
Any further discussion on the amended motion? See none, all in favor? Opposed? And that motion has carried. Thank you. And that is it for new business. We are on to information listings. We have one Lanark County Traffic Advisory Working Group meeting minutes from August 13th, 2025. The suggested motion is that the information listed dated August 26, 2025 be received. Moved by Councillor Comley, second by Mayor Randall. Any discussions? See none. All in favor? Opposed? And that motion has carried. We will be heading into closed session now. I will read the recommended motion that the committee move into closed session at 8:10 p.m. to discuss matters subject to Municipal Act Section 239-2, labor relations or employee negotiations, items 1 and 2, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards, item 3, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instructions to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality of local boards, item 4, and that the following persons be permitted to participate in the meeting: Diane Smithson, CAO, Stacy Blair, Clerk, Teresa McConkey, Treasurer for items 1 and 2, and Laura Skull, Human Resources Managers for item 1 and 2. Moved by Deputy Mayor Tennant, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. Any discussions? All in favor? Any opposed? And that motion is carried. We will be heading into closed session.
So sorry.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, we're back. Rise and report. Smithson will provide us with the rise and report.
So for items 1 to 4 discussed in closed session, staff direction was provided.
Thank you, Dan. And we are at adjournment time. The suggested motion is that the meeting be adjourned at 8:39 PM. Moved by Councillor Comley, seconded by Councillor Kavanaugh. All in favor? Opposed? None. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everybody.